What up, guys? How you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be reacting to A Change of Heart Towards Jordan by Africa, Brooke, and Michaelia Peterson podcast. Let's get into
it. Listen to anything this man has to say. Based on a 3-minute clip, mind you.
Do you remember what it was that I said that was so profoundly irritating? I mean,
there's many.
Can you tell me what that was?
Of course, you were talking about the gender pay gap, and this was part of a longer interview. The interview that you had with Kathy Newman, and this was a clip, 3-minute clip. You were talking about the gender pay gap, and you were saying that, paraphrasing here, but that the reason for most women is because most women are agreeable, most women don't negotiate, etc., etc. I believe that was essentially giving people options as to why it could be that there's this thing that exists or doesn't exist. And I didn't even finish the clip. I didn't even finish the 3-minute clip. But based on the things that another out of context clip that I had seen before, and the way that I'd heard your name being spoken of before in the context of the trans conversation that was happening around that time, 2018. Right, exactly. Again, I was watching this clip, and it's almost like I wasn't even listening to what you were saying. I had already decided that I don't like this man because someone that I trust has told me that I shouldn't like him. So therefore, the decision is made. Why do I even have to finish that video?
Right, of course.
And it was just, and it was just normal.
Well, we use heuristics like that all the time, and
Yes.
It's easy to get caught up in them because, well, you can't listen to everyone.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to make a snap judgment about almost everyone. And the default is you don't listen because there's like 7 billion people. So obviously you're not listening to most of them. So you don't need much of an excuse. And it's really easy for that to get, and I mean, it's not like I haven't experienced that. Like, on my podcast, I invite people on. Abigail Schreier, for example, she wrote, I don't remember the name of her most recent book, but it's a investigation into the downside of the rush to make everything gender fluid, essentially. And I was terrified when I had her on. I mean, I was in rather ill health at irreversible damage. Yeah.
That's
and
the one.
I want to have Andy Ngo on my podcast, but that also makes me nervous too. And because he's tarred with the fascist brush, and then it's guilt by association, and that might have been part of what you were feeling. So so you think, well, you need a simplifying heuristic, and part of that is, well, that most people aren't worth listening to, and he's definitely not worth listening to, and then that can so easily become politicized. And once it is, especially when the political has become religious, it's really, really hard to overcome that.
Yeah. I've seen this with my friends. Like, you'll be talking to someone and you realize the way that person treats you or the way they just communicate with you, like, I feel like we're just friends because we've been friends, but you don't listen to me because you don't like me, or there's something about me that you don't vibe with, which might be someone would have said, hey, don't listen to this person, they're manipulated, they're this, they're that, and they've created this thing, and then they have the evidence of your actions. And you're looking at that person, you're trying to create a way forward with them, and they're just like dismissive of you as a human being, as a person. They just feel like you ain't worth their time. And it's sad because we don't give people the opportunity to express to us who they are, and we block off those relationships, and we don't listen to the end of what they have to say, which might be beneficial, which might not be. But then it's just this thing where you can get really trapped. For me, I try to have an open mind. Like, I can disagree with you, but if you're saying something of value to me, I try to give you the benefit of the doubt and be like, oh, let me actually listen to this person because I don't know everything, and I can learn from this person. I can learn something from everybody. And you just give yourself that opportunity to have a fresh mind as you listen to someone and not actually be angry. I like how Jordan reacts in these moments, man. Like, not to feel offended. Because if there's a lot of us would be like, you didn't like me? What?
A lot of the things that the radical left are pointing out are in some sense universal human failings. And so they have that truth about them. I mean, because we could ask ourselves, given the implicit tendency for human beings to have a pronounced in-group preference and the potential we have for violence against out-group members, how do we all address our proclivity to damn the foreigner? Okay, that's a really important question.
I feel like I've got a good answer.
Okay,
to that.
let me add the one end to that. And then the next thing is, well, we all have these proclivities. How are they exacerbated by power and privilege? Right? Those are good questions. But as soon as we make it instantly racist, well, then we can't even ask the damn questions properly anymore. So, Mick, sorry.
My joke is over now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I stomped all over your timely joke.
You stomped all over my tiny little joke. I was thinking about that question earlier, though. If everyone has these tendencies, which they certainly do, I've noticed that if I have a guest on my podcast, and I think my audience is fairly open-minded, but then I'll have a guest on that, and they'll hate them. And they'll be like, well, you can't just, even if you don't agree with them, maybe they are wrong, but like, you can't just cancel people because they don't agree with you because they're doing exactly the same thing that the people you're complaining about.
Well, and also maybe your stupid opinions aren't right. They're probably not right. And like, are you so sure your life is going so much the way you want it to go, and you're such a bloody paragon of virtue, and the light is shining out every orifice, that everything you think and say is correct, and everyone who disabuses you of your notions is evil? You're really so sure of that, are you? So, you wander around and you think, God, maybe I should listen to this person because I'm such an ignorant bastard and I'm so full of malevolence, and maybe they'll drop one thing on me that won't make me like miserable and doomed to hell and to drag everyone else there too. That's,
Yeah, that's complicated because once you have a certain belief over something, like it's very hard for you to be like, oh, I don't, you know what I mean? Like you've been raised on certain values, you've been raised on certain things, and you've told yourself you believe in those things, right? So like, yeah, I'm evil-minded, but like for me, that's why I always say like when it comes to movies, Thanos is a perfect character, is a perfect villain to reality. It's like most of us are constantly in pursuit of something that we believe in. So when someone threatens that, it's like, no. But then you also have to be willing to listen to the other side, to understand that there's a different viewpoint, there's a different lens that you can look at the situation from, and see that, by destroying half the world, you're messing things up. But then in Thanos' case, like, it's like, oh, I should just remove everybody.
I felt something similar when I finally leaned into listening to you properly. Because what was interesting, even after that moment in 2018, watching that 3-minute clip, deciding this man is evil, I want nothing to do with him ever again. And of course, I didn't think I would ever have anything to do with him.
Yeah, look what happened.
Infiltrated. Yeah.
Right? People especially people that were not really connected to the digital world, a lot of older men in my life, for example, and women in my life would always tell me to read your book. It's honestly, people would always say to me, Africa, you will really love this book. I would have friends of mine send me lectures. I think you're really going to like this. And I would just completely ignore it. And in my mind, I'd be thinking, what am I going to find? What am I supposed to like? Because again, I have this idea of you built up in my head. So I'm finding it very confusing that people that know me very well are telling me that there's something that I'm going to like, right?
Yeah, what the hell?
Very confusing. But again, for years, what the hell? For years, I ignored it. So when I started watching your lectures late 2019 and last summer as well, in the beginning, I could notice myself listening to you and waiting for a moment where I could say, aha, see?
Right.
I knew I was right. And you know what? I waited. That moment never came. That moment never came.
That comes for me all the time.
And that's the thing. This shows a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of maturity to be able, because some people would just go, nah, I didn't do it, but I'll catch him next time. But to be able to be like, oh, okay, I'm giving this man the benefit of the doubt, like respect, like she gets respect from me.
And that again, so it's like there wasn't one moment of being awake and then it's done. So many little tiny, seemingly insignificant moments where I'm just sitting here by my sofa, just watching and listening, observing myself, waiting for that confirmation that I'm right, and then it never coming, and then I have to deal with that, and then so again, my curiosity, I finally allowed myself to be curious again, and now, Jordan, I can say you have been one of the most influential people to me for so many reasons I couldn't even mention right now, but to be able to have the conversations that I do now publicly, you have, and I could have never imagined this ever in my entire life. Things like this don't just happen. And the fact that I can tell you this.
Oh no.
Nice, man. Like, you can, that's what it feels like. This man, I have no, for me, like, I try not to be like a fan of someone to whereby I start to hero worship them. But I feel the same. Like, the way he comes into your life, and helps you through the pandemic, through his lectures, that's what I've had access to. It shapes, it like opens your mind to a different way of thinking. And you're like, man, he's got a point, man. Like, there's a lot that I have to do to make things work for myself. And
thank you.
Respect.
Just thank you. Thank you.
You got him.
It's a pleasure.
It's pretty nice.
I know.
You knew what happened to me with Marvel Comics?
Yeah.
That was something. It's really something to see yourself portrayed. I got accused of being a Nazi pretty much when all this happened. It was really something because I had been teaching students what we're talking about today, about these temptations that you faced and how people, as individuals, get sucked into that totalitarian hell. And then, so that was something for that to happen, such a reversal. And then to have that comic book come out, well, it was surreal. It was absolutely surreal to be portrayed, because Nazi wasn't enough, right? We had to go right for the archetype itself. So I think we've raised about $400,000 for charity now on the basis of that. So that was a fun reversal. But it was really shocking when I first saw that. I just couldn't believe it. I was very ill at the time too. I thought, this can't be real. This has to be Photoshop. This cannot possibly be happening. It's so completely beyond comprehension. And, to come from the pen of one of the foremost black intellectuals. And I use the racial category only because that's the categories that he's using to operate within.
Yeah.
So
life is really weird.
This is true.
Right.
This is true. As this whole conversation illustrates.
Wow. Well, we'll definitely have to look into it and see what this is about, because I don't know what the comic book thing is about. But what I know is, like, I'll never come out here and defend the man. Like, I don't know him personally. I don't know what he stands for and what he's pushing, what the goal is. But what I know is what we've seen. And for me, like, he's been a positive impact. 2020 was a tough year. That's when I started, like, watching a lot of his content. And it helped me progress through, man. Like, from facing hell of being alone in a pandemic and just to seeing ways that I could change my life, I could make it better, I could see myself being better, building this YouTube channel. A lot of it, comes from that influence that this man has had on me and helping me with that depression, because I was diagnosed with COVID and that was one of the hardest periods of my life. And then it came out to be a false positive. But I lost 2 weeks and I lost a job. I lost a lot of things in that period of time that just depresses you and kicks you down and makes you like feel like shit. And then you find content, and you find ways to come up. This is why I make content now. I try to make my content as much valuable as possible. Where I don't have the words to express, I react to content that can help somebody. Someone might like me, but they'll just watch the video and get impact like that. But yeah, this was pretty special. And the thing is, don't be stuck within these cults, man. These online cults of being woke and whatever. Make your own decisions. You know, Elon Musk speaks of something called first principles. Just try to have first principles in your life, man. Think for yourself before you let the world take you down with it. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this reaction. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and I'll definitely be seeing you in the next one.